Hello and welcome to part 2 of our Ford Transit Connect microcamper build. What we're going to be doing today is installing a solar panel on the roof and also a skylight. We're also going to be carrying on with a bit of clean up too. So as always, grab yourself a cup of tea and let's get into it. Okay, on the table here we've got a Sunshine Solar 100 watt solar panel. We'll be fixing it to the van roof using these Z brackets, which are built and made by Renogy. I've used plenty of these in the past. I trust the system and it works for me. We'll also have a cable entry gland that the two cables will be fed through and come out the bottom down inside the van through the roof. Those can then be terminated into our solar controller. With solar, you might want to fit a isolator for the system. I expect we will. It doesn't have to be very large, larger breaker because of the size of the panel we've got. The cables will come down through the roof on the underside, and then they'll be terminated wherever I'll decide to have the electrics. So let's get making up this solar panel ready for fitting. So now with the mounts on, you can see that we've raised the solar panel probably 15mm, which is good for cooling, it's for air to pass under. The mounts now have two fixings on each, and those fixings you can either bolt down through your roof or use Tech screws. Now I use Tech screws purely on the basis that if the panel is ever damaged, you can simply unscrew it, repair, replace and screw back in. If it's bolted through and you can't get to your underside without taking down your whole ceiling, then you're in for a tough day. So that's how I do it. It's never failed me. Underside of this also gets CT1, so there's adhesion to the underside of this to the roof van, as well as a mechanical fixing with a Tech screw. Okay, so I've gone ahead and cleaned the roof, and what we're going to do now is remove this roof rack system. Unfortunately, this will foul the fitting of the solar panel, but at the end of the day it will make a cleaner looking roof to not have this rack on here. Okay, so that's the panel fixed down. We've got adhesion underneath and a Tech screw. The Tech screw's also got a rubber washer, so that seals it, doesn't give it any chance to leak. What I'll also do is go underneath the van and then squirt up into the back of the hole that the Tech screw's in. The Tech screw actually finishes lower than, or actually finishes higher up than the rib of the van, so we're not going to have any issues with it interfering with our roof. So next up to consider is our cable entry gland and where to put it. So what we have is our two cables, our live and our negative, that comes from our solar panel, and then they connect to two cables that run down into the van. And I think here is as good as any. And what I want to do is make sure we can get to this beneath. So let's have a look. Okay, so if I feel on top, I can feel the gutter, and this is the gutter rail. At the moment, our cable entry gland is on this rib, and if we go further in, we can see the hole where we've come in with our Tech screw. So I know that when we come in with the cable entry gland, we're going to be entering around here. So I'm happy with that. Doesn't interfere with anything else going on here with our roof light. So yeah, we can go there. Okay, so I'll be happy with it here. That gives enough flex to have our two cables leaving, that will also have MC4 connectors like this on the end of it. So what I can do now is get a 2mm pilot drill bit and send that down there, and then investigate where we come out, but we should be good. And as we can see, there's our Tech screw. Onto this rib is our 2mm drill bit. So we're good to go. Here, fed the cables through the cable entry gland, and on the top you have these plastic nuts, and in there is a seal. As you tighten down, it crimps up the seal and your cables are stuck. So we can now get our other end, feed that down the hole, and secure down our gland. Right then, solar cables. Let's have a look at the route we're going to do. So here we have my solar cables that are coming down from the roof through a 20mm hole with a 20mm open grommet. I've gone ahead and found areas where I can get the cables down. So ideally I'd like these to go that way and in, but I don't have access really, so I am going to have to come through a hole. What I've also gone ahead and done very carefully is drill out a 20mm hole here. The cables can feed through into this cavity here, which will be covered with ply, and then down through here, which again will be covered with ply, and then the cables can come out the bottom here behind the bed. So all we need to do is fix in some rubber grommets to protect these cables and feed them down. So with the cab head lining here, you can see how dirty it is. We're going to hit it with some Maguire's carpet and upholstery cleaner and see if we can make a dent in it. Fingers crossed. Hundred times better. I'll do a turn. On to the next. Now, I haven't got the budget to be able to afford a max fan. They normally are my go-to fans for builds. They're £300 a pop. They're a bit too expensive to me. What we have is essentially a Fiamma knockoff. This is called a Shield Auto Care roof vent. Principles are still the same. The fitting, this is the inside fascia. This is what will go on the up to your roof. We also have this, of course, case that gets screwed down into your roof. There's a mesh screen on here, and you attach an arm to wind in and out your roof. For all intents and purposes, it looks good. It is an electric fanned roof with an on-off switch there for the fan. And so we'll be getting this installed and incorporating it into our camper build. So let's get some measurements done. Well, that was way more faffy than I thought it was going to be. We are in though, which is great news, and still good and central to the van. So yeah, these kinds of jobs, they're not for the faint-hearted. Fitting the roof lights and drilling through your roof and cutting a massive hole out of it. But like anything, if you don't give it a go, you're never going to know. And there is always somebody out there that will be able to rectify any mistakes that you make. So always give it a go. Okay, with any roof light, you need to install a frame around the light itself on the inside to give it some structure and some support, because obviously these roofs can vibrate and what have you. I'm going to cut some battens. I've got some laying around. I'm trying to use as much materials as I can that I do have without having to buy any. And we will make a frame that lives around this and gives us that structure that we need. Okay, with the frame cut, I've notched out these little triangles with a jigsaw that pick up these little sort of knobs that stick out. And that's the same for in the van here. I've cut out little recesses that will pick up those little kind of nodules. So now I've got the frame laid out. I've then marked the frame with lines in different directions, so I know what point it all meets up, and then we can get them screwed in and screwed together. Once that's done, we can lay down our roof fan in the top, and then get it secured down and follow the processes that we need to do to complete that. Next up, we're going to talk about mastic sealing strip. So this is the product that I use. So this is the product I use. It's W4 mastic sealing strip, specially formulated for sealing and rebedding caravan fittings. So what we do with this is we build up the layers on the ribs of the roof of the van to give us a flat, uniform surface that this can live on the roof. So we'll head up there now, have a look. So what we have is these dips. Now when we put a surface, as in our roof light, onto this, we're left with this channel that is void, and this needs to be filled to this level. So when we lay on, this is one perfectly round substrate, and this is where this product comes in. So all we're effectively doing is cutting strips. This surface has been cleaned with our isopropyl alcohol, so it is all prepared. We're laying in our strip. Then cutting another one, peeling off this top layer, adding the next layer. And what we keep doing is adding these layers of mastic tape till it is in line with this. What we'll then do is add a complete single layer all over the top. So when our roof is bedded down, there is also a mastic strip. After that, once we've got our roof on, we'll then go in with CT1, OB1, Sikaflex, what have you, a construction sealant adhesive, and we will finish all again, adding another layer of protection. So all our recesses are filled, the tape's been left on top for the last ones. What we can do now is remove this tape, because we know now that the next layer that goes across is going to bridge everything level. Or as level as can be, you know. So what we do now is take a full strip, taking it past our gap, we know that this is the same height because it's along the rib, so that can go down. So with the roof now down in position, we need to go inside and put up our wooden frame. We can then come back outside and screw through our wooden frame around the perimeter in these holes marked, which come from factory, and that should secure up into that wood. Okay, so I've used a couple of struts here to keep the frame in its place. I've checked around all the edges to make sure that the frame is in its position. So we can now go outside, screw down from the top and work our way around. Okay, so that's our skylight just about done. I've used stainless steel screws in here so they're not going to rust, but each screw will get a blob of white CT1 when I do get my tube of white CT1. I'll then be able to add a nice bead of finish around this edge and also down here. What I've done for now is filled each recess with a whole load of CT1, and that will further help any ingress getting into and underneath that panel into our roof. So for me, it looks great. Of course, the one important thing when you're mounting a skylight is to have your hinge at the front of the vehicle. So for the roof, we're pretty much done. We've got our cable entry gland here with our 2 cables out that we fed in. We've also got the 2 cables from the panel itself which will connect into here. Those get connected in as the very last thing you do on your solar install. Of course, we've got our solar panel, we've got our mechanical fixing with a tech screw, and we've also got this glued down as well. It is not going anywhere. So for the best part, this roof is now done. Let's go take a look on the inside. Okay, for our batten frame on the inside, we are all the way up, which is great. We are fixed in, screwed. I shall add CT1 into this as well. That'll secure it even further. We've got our 2 cables that come down that I can now run, and they will go down there into the same holes that we put for our solar cables. And that's for our little fan, which is quite cool. Of course, once we've got our ceiling up, we then need to add our fascia. These battens, the thickness of them, finish just about in line with the bottom of this rib here, and just below, or just above, sorry, this rib here. So when we add our ceiling panel, we're not going to have any weird undulations or whatever. So that's another good job done. We're getting closer to being able to start ply paneling, carpet lining and what have you, and then we can start really making this place our own. Okay, that's it for this episode. Thanks so much for watching. We've made some good progress by getting the solar on and getting the roof lighting. What we're doing on the next upload is fitting a window. We'll also be fitting a steering wheel and cleaning up the upholstery. As always, appreciate it. Do hit the thumbs up, do subscribe down below. It is free, and also leave a comment. As always, thank you. We'll catch you on the next one.